Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Game Mess Game Club. This time we are discussing Doom Eternal, a title that is somehow already 5 years old. It came out on March 20th, 2020. It's available on just about everything. This is the second game in the kind of Doom reboot series, with the third entry, Doom the Dark Ages, coming out just next month. May 15th. So what a nice time to jump back into this game, the one that I think people like it, but maybe doesn't get quite as much love as its predecessor, which is just called Doom. But yeah, we've got a bunch of people here to talk about this game from the Game Mess Discord. All of these fine folks can participate in the Game Mess Game Club because they are subscribed to the Game Mess Patreon on patreon.com/GameMess, or they are subscribers to my Twitch channel right here on twitch.tv/Tokoto, or Jeff's at twitch.tv/JeffGrubb, or even Christian, right? Twitch.tv/Christian without the H, I believe.
Christian underscore
so
ARG, maybe? I think.
There it is. Yeah, Christian without the H underscore ARG, because he is from Argentina. So there it is. Thank you so much for our hair. All right. Yeah, there's Shawn. Shawn is here helping produce and joining the discussion. Always nice to have you here, Shawn. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
So I guess my first question here is how much kind of love or appreciation for the Doom series does everybody have? Have they played this game before? Have they played other games in the Doom franchise? You know that I am old now, so I remember when the first Doom was popping off and it was the biggest thing in the world, and we were all playing it, and they were porting it to everything, and all the ports were pretty bad. And then we had the weird Doom 3 era, and it kind of seemed like, okay, well, Doom was a thing of the past. And that reboot came along, and it just absolutely slapped, and Doom was relevant again. It was really surprising but neat. Adam, GC, go ahead.
Yeah, I've played this game before, and I've played Doom 2016 before. I actually played these last year after we played Bolt Gun here, because I was on a huge boomer shooter kick. And yeah, I really enjoyed Doom 2016. I think I like Doom Eternal even more. It kind of completes what started with Doom 2016, where that game gave you the glory kill move for health, and with this game you kind of have similar moves for ammo and shields, and with all those tools combined, you can kind of be this unstoppable killing machine. And that's just a fun flow state to be in. That's kind of the state I want to be in most times these days playing games. Just turn your brain off, throw a podcast on in the background, and shoot some gross monsters. So yeah, I have a few nitpicks, but overall, Doom Eternal is a great time.
All right, Jedi Moss, how about you? What is your Doom history, your Doom story?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit younger, so I don't have a lot of experience playing the original Doom games. Really, I got my start with Doom with 2016. Absolutely loved that game. Was excited to have the sequel to it, Doom Eternal, come out. And so, yeah, I got that. I got Doom Eternal at launch. And had a fantastic time with it. I think it's so much better than 2016. It would absolutely be my game for that year, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Firehair, how about yourself?
Howdy. So obviously, I UK here, so obviously grew up with PCs. I've obviously played Doom 1, and obviously it's just so ingrained. It's sort of like everyone knows Doom 1, original Doom 1, don't they? Yeah, it's sort of everyone's played it. But no. So fun fact, I kind of bounced off 2016, which was and I gave Eternal a try, thinking I'll try it again. And I just found they tweaked everything so just upped everything I wanted out of the original Doom, and which is hey, I want to be shooting demons, and I just found the shooting demons in Eternal is incredible, and I adored my time with this game, and it sort of fixed those little quibbles I had with 2016 in a great way. So yeah.
All right, so far everybody seems very pro Doom Eternal. Matt, does that continue with you?
It does. The other thing is let's see, Doom. I was one of the people who had I thought I played all of Doom 1 originally, but I only had the shareware first act. Because who bought video games back then as a child? So I have been playing Doom from the beginning, I've always loved the series, and once you get into it, Doom Eternal is might be the best Doom game there is, but you do got to get into it first.
See, this is really interesting to me so far because, like the vibe I was almost getting online was like people had turned against Doom Eternal a little bit, and I was wondering kind of why. When I was playing the game, I was maybe going to pick up on that, and I think I'm with all of you. I liked it a lot. But Shawn, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I think I've mentioned on the show before, growing up low income, I was always like a generation or two behind. And so I'm the kind of kid who in 2005 got my first PC that was a Windows 95 era machine that I upgraded to 98. And so definitely played a lot of those 90s shooter games in the mid 2000s. So I was playing Doom, went on to Quake and all that stuff, and had a great time with it. A decent portion of my childhood was playing random ass Doom wads that I found online. So I definitely have a soft spot for the series in my heart. And when Doom 2016 rolled around, I was stoked because I know it had a bit of a rough initial showing because they showed that weird slow trailer for it or whatever. But then I saw the launch trailer and I saw how fast it was and the glory kills and everything. I was so on board, and I ended up loving 2016. It's one of those like top maybe 20-ish games of all time for me. I love Doom 2016. Dawson McGordon, I love Killer Instinct. Love what he did in 2016 as well. Eternal, I also really, really like. I think it's a fantastic game. And yeah, addressing what you were getting at, I think there's a little bit of a almost like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom thing going on where people online seem to really like one or the other and say that like one invalidates the other or something like that, because I get it's very different. It's more Metroid Prime-y maybe, but I think both can exist and both are really good. I'm excited to see what everyone tonight has to say about it, because I think they're both excellent games. And I really liked Eternal.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time with it quite a lot. Doom 2016, it was just so refreshing because we were really stuck in a rut there of every shooter being like either Halo or Call of Duty. And here's one that brought those old school sensibilities back of, no, it really, you have to keep moving. You're going to run around. You can't hide to recover your health. It's not that kind of game. It's all about aggression. And in Doom Eternal, it's that it continues that. The glory kills for health, yes. But doing the things like the flamethrower, getting armor, and just all these other tricks in this flow state, and the fact that you really are using all of your weapons, or at least all of your ammo types. You can't just have a favorite. You gotta cycle through everything because there's only so much ammo, and it's a struggle to keep that up. So that stuff all works really well here. The other thing people talk about is this big talking point is the kind of first person platforming stuff. And I was curious how I was going to feel about that, because when the way people talked about it, I was expecting there to be a ton of it. Two, I'm kind of a sicko for that stuff. I like first-person platforming. We all saw how much Neon White I played a couple years ago. I like Metroid Prime. It goes back to me playing Jumping Flash 2 on the original PlayStation. I'm always completely fine with that. So I thought the stuff in Doom Eternal with that was actually really fun. And I was almost sad there wasn't more of it. I don't know if other people have thoughts on the platforming element of Doom Eternal. Go ahead, Adam.
The platforming really threw me for a loop early on, because I like 3D platforming too, but it was I don't even know how to describe it. It's these sections where you're just like clinging from wall to wall that I found kind of slowed down that flow state for me, and like visually it was, some of those were hard to like, okay, where the hell is the next wall? I played it on PlayStation 2, and like that grip move you have to do to get, like, that's mapped to the right stick, and that felt really bad. I did eventually get used to it and kind of got the swing of things there. So it grew on me, but not my favorite platforming.
That's fair. That's fair. Firehair, how about you?
So yeah, definitely. It's something you get used to it, but it definitely could have done a bit more tweaking in terms of just. There are so many times where you do that thing for like, because you can obviously dash to grab onto something, but so many times you do the dash and you just wouldn't quite hit it, and then you do that thing of like you'd punch the wall trying to grab it, and it wouldn't work. Oh come on, just give it to me. Like yeah, it was one of those always like that to kind of make me eye roll. But I appreciate it being there in terms of it needs to give you a small breath between those super intense like arenas. So in that way, I see why they did it that way. And like, yeah, get used to the idea of like, hey, you should always be using this. We want this Doom guy to be like maneuverable and running. You've got this dash, and you've got all this movement you can be doing.
Jedi Moss, go ahead.
Yeah, so I like the platforming in this. I think what I like about it is it serves as a way to break up all of the fights, because you do need to have a little bit of a break between those long, intense fights, which we'll get more into. So it's kind of a way to break up the pace a little bit, and as that a way to do a shift a bit from the constant fighting. I think it works pretty well for what it is. I do agree. Like, I think part of the problem with the platforming is like how the movement in the game is very momentum based, and so like if you kind of screw up any of your momentum at a certain point, like it can screw up your jumping and timing, and so it just kind of it oftentimes feels inelegant.
Pardon me too. I wonder if it feels worse on controller. If that's not an issue, I was doing mouse and keyboard for this one on PC. I don't know if the experience felt different for console players. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of the same thing as Firehair and Jedi there about the having it something to break up all of this super intense fighting is great. Is really nice, but at the same point, I don't know, it felt really awkward, just like grabbing a wall and then just climbing up it, like really weird looking feel, like a real odd feel to the climb to it. To me, it just never felt that natural, and so like it's fine. That's kind of where it come down to. I'm glad it's there, but I don't think it was like the best first person platforming we've had. So there's that.
Shawn, go ahead.
So, first of all, I realize it's Christian_RARG on Twitch. If you want to follow him, plug. Please don't post Christian. But yeah, this is something that I was sort of hinting at in the beginning of it being a little more Metroid Prime-y, having that, like we talked about a little bit, the first person platforming, and how sometimes that can feel a little bit weird if you're not quite expecting it, and how precise it can be sometimes. I don't think it's too bad in here. I think people, like you said, make more out of it than it really is. I think I think they got it where it's breaking up the really intense fights in here, because there's definitely some intense moments in here. I remember, I think on my first playthrough, because I actually just did a playthrough of 2016, I actually did just the hard mode. I forget the exact naming scheme, but one above normal. And there were a couple fights that kind of kicked my ass a little bit towards the end. And so, yeah, it gets pretty wild there. But yeah, I think the design of it is really cool. The way you do break things up with, like, you can swing around like a little bit. It's not like you're, Spider-Man or anything like that. The way you can sort of move around the train a little bit more with the meat hook and stuff by like latching onto enemies. And that sort of fills the gap a little bit here and there, I think is really cool. And just last thing that I think you mentioned was the control scheme. I'm the ultimate sicko. I like to play on PC with a controller.
Oh no.
As you know, big into Call of Duty as a teenager, so that's why I'm used to for first-person shooters now, unless it's something really competitive, PC-oriented like Overwatch or something. But yeah, I think there are also certain things that feel really good on controller. I love glory killing with R3. Something about like hammering that in is like really satisfying. Yeah, I think this game overall, the movement, the platforming, the shooting, it all feels really good, which is a big part of Doom's identity overall, right?
Matt, you want to jump back in there?
Yeah, I mean, I've played this with both controller and mouse and keyboard, and it works great on both, honestly. And I am also can be a sicko. I when I did play it with controller, I also did with on PC, and then I eventually moved back to mouse and keyboard. But I was also someone who played a lot of FPS on console / controller at points in my life.
Firehair, go ahead.
I was going to say, just around about the controller keyboard thing. When Hugo Martin first revealed Quake at QuakeCon Doom Eternal, he himself was actually playing with the controller and saying like he actually prefers playing with the controller too. So just a fun little fact.
Hell yeah.
There you go. Shaw, you brought up intensity, and I think it's kind of an interesting point in this game because it's a very intense game. The pace is relatively pretty fast. Even the worlds, it's a lot of like destroyed buildings and hell and things like that. It's a game that is often on 11. I got bullied into playing on ultra violence, the game's hard mode, so it was even more of that. How do people kind of feel about the challenge, the intensity, the tone, the aesthetics of the game? I will say, as much as I like Doom, the whole kind of hell aesthetic isn't necessarily always my favorite, right? Like, demons and fire and brimstone. I like a little bit of that. I definitely preferred the levels. Like, there was a whole section where you were in more snowy areas, and I liked that. Or even the last level where it was more of just a city under siege. That felt good to me. The real thing here that was maybe close to a problem for me is this, that the levels are pretty long. I don't know why it matters to me if I have one really long level or 3 shorter levels, but like each level I was like, okay, here comes like a 1 hour, 90-minute commitment just to get through this level, perhaps. Adam and JC, how did you feel about all that?
So I played on normal because apparently I'm a baby.
I kind of wish I did. Don't worry.
Okay, I thought it was the perfect difficulty on normal because you can breeze through most of the sections, and like I say, that's just great for shutting off your brain and going through it. But then you get each level has at least a couple of those kind of horde sections where it's like, shit, I gotta fucking sit up here because I'm getting annihilated, and those take maybe a couple tries to get through. So that felt pretty good. As far as like setting and vibe, I thought this was super cool. I liked it even better than just the more hell-coded Doom 2016. It's over the top and goofy in a way that I really enjoyed. You're in space, doing fun space things. It's cool.
Go ahead, Firehair.
Hello. In terms of you talk about the intensity, me and Beef Hammer both said like, no, Mike, play on ultra violence. Yeah, we're the ones that bullied him. I adore the intensity in terms of like, it was so refreshing getting to play like an actual hard game. It's sort of like a challenging, fun game again challenging in terms of the AI being smart and having to manage all the systems and everything. It was refreshing just in terms of like how often you get trapped in a corner and like I was saying earlier, basically Doom Eternal to me is also like almost like ADHD the game in terms of how attention grabbing it can be, and that's why I like it a lot. And in terms of the settings, I appreciate it wasn't all just Mars or hell all the time kind of a thing. I do appreciate we went to sort of the mecha heaven kind of place. I adored like they knew when to like just refresh it and change it up just a little bit. Especially like the castle level where you're going into the history of the Doom. I feel like it all felt in place with that sort of silly, over the top lore that they go for and that kind of a thing.
Matt, go ahead.
I mean, I played it on normal because that's just kind of where I was. And it still feels great. I was able to get through it, play through it without too many problems. I've played on ultraviolence before, and the intensity and fun that can bring is really nice. Being able to have that challenge that really brings. I'm really happy when I can do that, but I just wanted to play through it again and enjoy my time for this year.
And Jedi Moss, your turn.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a little bit and thinking more of the larger context of like why it's a little bit more divisive. And I think what I ultimately came to was this is a hardcore game. And what I mean by that is it is actually one where like you actually do kind of have to master everything in the game if you want to really get it to work. Because like as you said, like it throws like 15 different mechanics at you, and like they're like, no, you're going to use all 15 mechanics at you, especially on those higher difficulty levels. And I think that can be a very different for some people, especially when, a lot of times we play through games that are like, well, here's like 12 different things, but like you're only going to use maybe 3 or 4 of them. It's like, no, this one was like, you have to really master everything the game gives you, of like managing like grenades, and then also your flame belch, and then also your managing the hordes of demons, managing the 12 different weapons you have. It's a lot of it plays almost like a management mode, where you're trying to manage all the different systems you have. It's very intense in that way, because if you don't use all of them, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. And that's something that I think we love about that game, but I think it is something that can turn people off of it.
Yeah, it's a good point, and there is a lot. I mean, even for me, by the time it gave me that sword towards the end, I was like, "Oh, there's another thing here? Really? We already have like other insta kill mechanics. It's on the C button. Like we're running out of comfortable buttons on the keyboard for all of this stuff." So yeah, like I don't think it was too much. I think maybe the sword was not needed. It was cool and it was fun, but it was also sort of a lot. Shawn, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, how sick was that sword? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It feels good. But I think Jedi was onto something there with it having a lot of layers to it, having a lot of systems and everything, a lot of stuff to manage. And I think maybe they did like slightly overdo it, just a touch, because they clearly wanted people who played 2016 to have a lot of stuff to do and not just think, oh, well, this is kind of more of the same. It needs to be Doom, so still does have a mostly like brutal metal industrial feel, even when you are going to other places that are a little more interesting visually. But they break up things by we mentioned way earlier with some of the platforming stuff, and then with the different options that you have in combat. I think it's a cool thing to keep the player engaged and constantly having them think, oh, I could do this, or I could do that, or I can approach this thing in this way. And I think that's where the fun of the management comes from, as opposed to 2016, where if you ultimately think about 2016's a bit simple, that's because I think they were like getting people warmed up to the concept. So yeah, I think the intensity, both literally and figuratively, both the difficulty of the game and the vibes of it, the environments and everything, I love it because it's still very distinctly Doom, I feel.
Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And the systems really insist themselves upon you in the boss fights, I found, because those are not in any way like just bullet sponges. You absolutely have to figure out the tricks using those systems each step of the way. And I really enjoyed that.
Go ahead, Matt.
I would just say the one issue I have with the intensity is it is literally just picking up exactly where you left off at 2016. And as someone who hadn't, when this first came out, hadn't touched it since 4 years after that came out, I was just like, oh, this is a bit much, but give it an hour, you catch the flow, and then that stuff feels incredible. But that first hour, I just felt like I was just kind of like sprawling everywhere, going, how do I do anything? But yeah, it takes a bit to get there.
I've definitely felt like even though the game was getting more difficult, I felt more comfortable with it towards the end than toward the beginning, for sure. Go ahead, Firehair.
Just in terms of like the intensity and mechanics, I'm sure we'll discuss some of them a bit more deeper in a bit. But I appreciate, just in terms of something as simple as like you have the Doom guy has a dash now, like all the way the mechanics, all the systems they added in. It also gave the like enemy designers a good push to try and like, well, Doom guy's super powerful now. He's got all these tools. We need to make sure the enemies are also powerful and sort of good like systems, and just terms of like it pushed them to make the enemies harder and smarter and not just like a cakewalk with all your different systems and that kind of a thing. I appreciated that, element to it a lot.
Jedi Moss, go ahead.
Yeah, just to build off that, as difficult as those systems can be, as overwhelming as it can sometimes be, if you do master it and you use it correctly, like you will be completely self-sufficient in a fight. Like it's designed where like, if you need more ammo, just chainsaw someone. Go find a demon, chainsaw them, you can get ammo that way. Need more armor, just go burn a demon and you'll get more armor that way. It is designed where like if you're managing all those systems correctly, like you won't have to worry too much about finding pickups. Because if you're using them correctly, like if you get into that flow state, as we like to say it, like you'll have a very good time. The challenge is just getting into that flow state.
Okay, my next thing I want to talk about is maybe some of the progression and how that works. There's a lot of progression systems in this game, and a lot of it revolves around collectibles and a bit of map hunting. And in one sense, I like exploration for sure, but sometimes that was what maybe felt like it was hurting the flow of the game for me. Because like I want to move on, but I almost feel guilty, and I feel like I should probably stop and look around and figure out how to get over to this floating icon thing so I can get another weapon mod. And like sometimes I was actually pretty good of intentionally ignoring it, and I was usually happier when I did. I usually got enough upgrades just on my own anyways. But I'm curious what other people think about the kind of collectathoning and the upgrading in Doom Eternal. Go ahead, Adam.
I made the decision very early on that I am just going to go. I maybe did one or two of those like gated areas, and I got the collectibles that I got, and that was fine. I was really happy I got the classic Doom guy costume. I was able to rock that for most of the game, and that looked great. But yeah, I decided I don't care. I'm just going.
Matt, go ahead.
I made that same exact decision. I was like, you know what? We're just gonna go through this and hit these arena after arena here. Let's go. I honestly, it feels so much better that way. I'm sometimes just running around looking for this stuff because I did that before in a previous playthrough, and I'm just like, no, that really slows everything down, and I want to just get through, like hit those parts that are where it feels the best, where I'm just in that arena and I'm ripping through people.
Yeah, gosh, I'm kind of agreeing so far. Like, I think the game may have been better without it. I don't think every game needs progression systems, let alone Doom. Go ahead, Jedi Moss.
So I'll say in defense of the exploration, they do give you when you complete a level, or you're getting close to the end of the level, it'll unlock like a fast travel system. And so like what the game is designed wanting you to do is like, well, if you want to go now and actually get those collectibles, you could go do that before actually exiting the level. And so that's what I often did, was I just played through the level. Once you complete the level, or you're close to the end of the level, you can just go back and to like different parts of the map, and you can find collectibles in that way.
Firehair, go ahead.
So yeah, I was about to bring up the point Jedi did. That yes, I appreciate that at the end of the level, they are like, look, you can just teleport back to them if you miss something, or if you just or if you don't care. In terms of there is one too many of those systems, especially like the one where you can only pick 3, and it keeps giving you like the ability to unlock all of them, and you're kind of like, well, I've picked the 3 I want already. Like, I don't need.
God, I forgot about those even. Jeez.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's always like, well, I know which one's the obvious ones to pick. Almost, they're always like, I guess again, I suppose they felt that they had to do it. They couldn't just have it just be arena after arena kind of a thing. I do appreciate the challenge rooms a lot. It's just like, hey, do you want to play more? Do you want to shoot some more demons? Like, yeah, I want to shoot some more demons. I'll do that. It was quite helpful. I'm sure we'll get to him soon. The Marauder challenge, for example, was super useful. Of like, hey, do you want to practice fighting the Marauder? Here's a challenge to kill him in, I think, 25 or 30 seconds. That was super useful, and that helped me get that down, for example. I appreciated like the challenge, but yes, in terms of like just pure progression unlockables, there is one too many. They could tighten it a bit. I'm curious what Dark Ages is going to be like with that shield and so on. So yeah, I do agree. It's very much like the game needed an editor. Instead, they just kept going like, do you want to add more stuff? Yeah, let's add more stuff without really always thinking, should we? Like, yeah.
Couchlot, go ahead.
Just to bust off what Fire was just saying, those Marauders are way too hardcore. I think 2016 had a better the way the levels went, like everything kind of guided you toward the progression, like kind of showed you how to use this game. But Eternal turns it up a notch. And then the Marauders are like almost like a skill check. It's like, can you beat this guy? And then like when they go into the DLC, I don't know if you guys got into that, but it's like you're rocking like multiple Marauders at a time, and gosh darn it, it's a whole lot.
The Marauders come up a lot. I think it's
Thanks, Fire. Love you.
I think it's what comes up when people talk about maybe there's some rigidity in the way you have to fight enemies in this game. Like, you know, that's an enemy where you have to very specifically wait for that counter window, and then that's when you get your shots off. Even things like I can never remember the names of the Doom enemies, and I feel like it's a failing for me as a gamer. But there's those floating head things, and the best way to kill them is to shoot the grenade at them. And so yeah, there's some rigidity, but I don't know if people think about that, or you know, those Marauders in general. I got the hang of them. I thought they were fun fights. What was annoying was trying to do those mechanics, and then there's 3 other enemies fighting it. That's when it could be a lot. Go ahead, Jedi Moss.
Yeah, so I am definitely one that's in favor of the Marauders. I think they're fun to fight. And it just reminds me, because I remember when the game was out, it was around the time when the game launched and people were fighting the Marauders for the first time. I had seen things on Twitter about people asking Bethesda, like, hey, can you do something about these Marauders? And I think like some official Bethesda account was like, no, get good. Like that's the point of them. And so like that to me like communicates everything of like, this is a hardcore game. Like you need to engage with these systems. If you don't engage with these systems in this way, you're gonna have a bad time. And so yeah, there's the DLC. I know you didn't really get into that. It adds like even more mechanics on top of all those other mechanics. Like there's some really crazy ones that they add in. So like that to me is just like, yeah, that's an example of we want you to play this in a certain way. If you can't play it in that way, you're not gonna have a good time.
Go ahead, Firehair.
So yeah, in terms of the Marauders, I am on Pro Team Marauder. Sorry, it's very difficult at first, but once you learn it, for me it's that chain of just super shotgun, ballista, super shotgun, like just quick swapping, boom, 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 boom. You get them down super quick when you know how to do it. And in terms of when it's in the middle of a fight, that's something I love about all the arena fights. It's always a case of, in your mind, it's always like, okay, who do I want to take care of first? Because for me, it's never the Marauder that's the problem. It's often like those snake ladies that go along the floor and like rush up to you. Those are always the ones that I'm like, I want to take them out first. And that's why I appreciate that's what I love about the game. Just like you can manage these things and decide what you want to get rid of first and that kind of a thing. In terms of the rigidity of the game, people say, I've always found this a peculiar. I get what people mean to a certain degree, but when people say like, oh, it forces you to only play one specific way, Mike, I watched you play very different to how I play. You like, for example, like you stopped using the sniper rifle for most of that game, whereas I loved using the sniper rifle and that kind of a thing. I will say about the Marauders, like, I will say it's kind of a shame that the BFG doesn't work against them. Because you obviously get such limited BFG ammo, that would be like a nice, like, hey, if you want to skip the fight, you can use the BFG ammo. That'd be a fair trade kind of a thing. But no, just in terms of, yes, I'm pro Marauder, and like, I think how you want to use certain weapons to defeat certain enemies. Obviously, there's always an optimal way to do these things, but like, if you want to use the super shotgun a lot of the time, which I do, it lets you, like, you know, that kind of thing. Or, as I say, I like to freeze bomb things and then blood punch them. That's a super strong thing I love to do. And like, yeah, and like, for example, Mike, you're using like the plasma weapon a lot more than I was, and so on. And just like, yeah, I think, I don't know, I just, yeah.
Villain Mac, who left a text submission here, is very much anti Marauders. They said Marauders nearly ruined the game for me. They required too much attention, and the specific timing needed to defeat them was too restrictive. Platforming was fun, though. 2016 is greater than Eternal. Penis. Adam, go ahead.
Oh, rigidity. Some might say that firing grenades into floating eyeballs is rigid. I call that the best part of the game. When you line up 5 of those guys and do the glory kill chain, bap, bap, just like Firehair was saying, bap, bap,
Yeah.
bap, bap, bap.
Go ahead, Jedi.
Yeah, about the visuals. the game runs super great on just about everything. Like, I was able to push like 200 frames per second on just, an NVIDIA 3080. It is a 5-year-old game at this point. Pretty much any computer in the last 5 to 10 years will run that game super well. It has a version on the Switch, runs actually pretty well on the Switch. It's a fantastic engine. It's Intech's fantastic, and yeah, you'll have a great time about that. I will say one last thing about sort of the rigidity and the combat is, so like when you have the Marauders, and you're fighting them, really the key thing I always keep doing is I just keep dashing constantly. Like the game wants you to use the arena to its fullest capacity. So it wants you to constantly keep moving, and you have to keep moving in this game, because if you don't keep moving, you'll be very quickly overwhelmed. The demons will just chew through your health very quickly if you stop moving.
All right, we have a couple more text submissions here. This one's from Doom Crossing. I wish that wasn't working because I have so much I want to say about this game, but I'll try to keep this brief-ish. Doom Eternal is my third favorite game of all time, after Metroid Prime and Super Mario Galaxy. It has incredible atmosphere, jaw-dropping art direction, brain-melting soundtrack, and the single most rewarding combat loop I've ever experienced in a game to date. I don't really like the conversation of Eternal versus 2016, because I don't think either title cancels each other out. They're both wonderful experiences with their own unique quirks that allow them to stand on their own. That being said, I obviously think Eternal is the better game, but I also completely understand why others prefer 2016, as that game has incredible value too. It's also a far more approachable game in general. I'm trying to get someone to play Doom for the first time, and I know they don't have a lot of experience with shooters. There's absolutely no way I'm recommending Eternal to them yet. There's really only 2 areas where the game falters for me, and one of them isn't necessarily the game itself, but the circumstances regarding its development. Number 1, the storytelling is a pretty big step down from 2016. 2016 had a really nice mixture of subtle environmental storytelling, rich codex lore, and dark comedy element with the UAC's descent into madness and the parallels to modern work culture. Whereas the show not only loses a lot of that, it almost exclusively dedicated its energy to the lore. Even the lore itself is nowhere near as interesting, but it basically just results in most of the major characters being a god the whole time. The crunch this game went through, particularly the treatment of composer Mick Gordon during the game development, was the other point. Shame listening to all of his wonderful contributions and knowing that it was allegedly birthed from so much unnecessary workplace abuse. Otherwise, I rated You Can't Just Shoot a Hole to the Surface of Mars out of 10. That is something I almost forgot about 2016, is that it did, it's not a comedy, but the game was sometimes tongue-in-cheek and the game was sometimes funny. This game's almost never funny. When it tries to be funny, it's like that hologram computer, or it's them making more mortally challenged jokes, which aren't very good. So, I'm not necessarily here for Doom for the storytelling or the jokes, but I do think that stuff isn't amazing, and I personally don't care that much about Doom lore. Adam, go ahead.
Who cares about story when you have a planet-sized BFG?
A very good point. Go ahead, Firehair.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like a lot of the jokes are kind of like eye rolling, like really, are we doing this? Like, yeah, kind of a thing. And like, but shooting yourself out of the BFG, that works very well. That is a good story beat. Yeah. With the lore, yeah, I'm not someone who cares too much about the lore. It's fun flavor and sort of makes you look at the world and go, oh, I wonder what happened in the history of this place or this place. And if you want to look into it, you can, kind of thing. It seems like Dark Age. It seems like a lot of this was building up lore for Dark Ages. Like it seems like they kind of knew what they wanted to do. And like, yeah, sort of, I imagine a lot of, if you pay attention to that stuff, I imagine a lot of it is going to pay off in Dark Ages and that kind of a thing, for sure.
Jedi Moths, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the story is a non-factor in this game. It doesn't help the game. It doesn't hurt it. It's just not important whatsoever. The only kind of interesting thing that they sort of mentioned lore-wise is like apparently the Doom Marine, the Doom guy, is apparently like the same Marine guy from Doom 64. That's apparently a big thing that they highlighted in this game. That's where all those flashbacks were with him like fighting in the arena and stuff. That was kind of the only thing I picked up on. Otherwise, the rest of it was just kind of noise.
Now, I do like Doom 64 quite a bit. That might be my favorite of the classic Dooms, actually. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people complimented them how they took the lore in Doom 2016, and they just ran with that. We're like, oh yeah, everyone loved how serious we took this, and everyone thought it was hilarious. And then they just went with it, and it just did not hit like the way it did in 2016. And as everyone says, who kind of cares about the story? Really, it doesn't matter. I'm just here to kill some demons and continue killing more demons. But it's definitely much weaker in this compared to other games.
All right, so I think most of us here like this game, or even really like this game. We Demon, who gave us a text mission, did not. We Demon said, "Gonna miss the discussion due to work. Might be for the best because I would probably go on several expletive-filled rants. I hate this game. Not necessarily because I think it's a bad game, but because it's not at all what I wanted from a follow-up to Doom 2016. I love Doom 2016. It's one of my favorite games ever. Doom Eternal is worse in almost every way. I usually play through this game on Nightmare, not Ultra Nightmare. I'm not a masochist. This time I tried playing on Ultra Violence and hurt me plenty, but no matter the difficulty, I was never having fun. I can make a 6-hour H-Bomber Guy style video essay about how much this game sucks, but I'm lazy. Just include these pros and cons lists I made during this playthrough. Okay, I'm going to react to each of these pros and cons and tell you what I think. So, pros. Looks great. Yeah, it does. Flame Belch is cool. It is cool. No instant death falls. That's nice. Audio design is better. Probably. Map is better. Okay. Cons. Weak point system sucks. I like the weak points. I like shooting out people's cannons and whatnot. New enemies are annoying. Yeah, objectively, they're kind of annoying. I don't know if I mind how annoying they are. Levels are too long. Yes, I agree with that. Checkpoints suck. I thought the checkpoints were okay. Too many cooldowns. There are definitely a lot of cooldowns. I don't know if I'd say there are too many. There are definitely a lot of them. Buff totems, especially the first encounter. Oh, I don't like the buff totems. I think that's a stupid mechanic. Because all it is just going there the first time, you run around and find out where it is, and then you die. And then when you respawn, do the fight again, now you know where the buff totem is. So, yeah, it didn't do enough for me. Not enough ammo. Slower walk speed. Well, you got the dash. Doom Hunter is a stupid name. Now, wait a minute! Now, you just wait a minute. Melee damage is shit. No pistol. Oh, there is no pistol. Music is worse, Pay McGordon. Can't choose when to use extra lives. It's true. Oh, the characters suck, especially Doom Guy. Controller feels like a handicap. Fortress of Doom is too big, so it's confusing. Power demons are pointless. Yeah, it's a little pointless. Bosses suck. I liked the bosses, especially the final boss. That was cool. UI sucks. Unskippable animations, purple goo, and finally, fuck Marauders. So, yeah, there's a more negative take. And, this echoes a lot of what I do hear some people say about this game. So, yeah, I get where that is coming from. I kind of want to play 2016 again. I am curious what I would think about it. Another point of comparison that I see comes up is multiplayer. I didn't really check out multiplayer for this now or then. I never cared that much. I don't know if anybody here has anything they want to say about the multiplayer of Doom Eternal. Go ahead, Jedi.
So the multiplayer is kind of a weird history because, especially like if you saw like the power demons in the campaign, they had original ideas to kind of flesh that out even more. And I think after a few years, because this game I think kind of underperformed for them, I think they ended up scrapping those plans, and then they ended up making a horde mode instead. And so they sort of altered their plans and sort of ideas for what they kind of wanted some of their multiplayer stuff to be. And the multiplayer stuff is fine, but I think ultimately, I think they understand that most people are just going to be playing it for the campaign. The Doom 2016 one was a pretty generic multiplayer modes of like, deathmatch, and was not particularly well inspired. The multiplayer modes in this game have a little more inspiration behind them of like your base. It's like a team of like, I think 3 to 4 demons versus the Slayer. And so like the Slayer's like super powerful, but the demons have greater numbers. So you and like 3 other players or 2 other players team up to try to take down the Slayer. It's fine for what it is, but it's not really why I play this game.
Go ahead, Firehair.
I enjoyed the multiplayer for what it is. It was just a fun mix-up from the usual TDM stuff, although I appreciate some folks did miss the sort of 2016 style multiplayer. Because when you play the game, there's a moment where you control, I can't remember, I think it's the Marauder, the guy who's with the jetpack. There's a moment you control him. That's a subtle tutorial for you for the multiplayer. Because that's what happens is one guy is the Doom guy and 2 other people are random. You can pick which like monster you want to be. One of them being the jetpack guy, and yeah, it's a fun mess around, especially if like you have 3 friends and want to like mess about trying each playing each demon and that kind of a thing. Yeah.
Go ahead, Shawn.
Jetpack Dude is the Revenant. That's all I want to add.
I did like the section of the game where you actually play as Revenant in the campaign. I thought that was pretty fun. I liked that. I do want to kind of start wrapping things up here a bit, but there's a couple things I want to know from everybody. Final thoughts, what they thought about Doom Eternal, anything else that they didn't get brought up here. But also, are you excited for Doom: The Dark Ages? And what are you hoping for from that? Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I love Doom Eternal. My final thought here is actually a nitpick that segues into the Dark Ages. So I mentioned I played Bolt Gun before both 2016 and Doom Eternal, and that game has the like the chainsaw sword move that kind of works similarly to the glory kills in these games, in that it's what you're doing to kind of close gaps between enemies. And in Bolt Gun, you have like total free control over that move. You can fly in and out whenever you want. Going from that to the glory kill, which has that like 2-second animation, that was just enough to be like, ooh, this is kind of, flow breaking. The animation looks cool, but I want to just go from move to move. And they got my letters because they're fixing that in the Dark Ages. That is going to be just an instant move going forward, so I'm excited to see that.
Go ahead, Firehair.
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. So again, yeah, I love this game. I love it so much it's kind of ruined other shooters for me a little bit. This game, they wanted to put the emphasis back on the guns again rather than the glory kills from 2016 a bit. They wanted so for example, like the audio design, man, we skipped the audio design a bit, but I adore how meaty most of the guns
talk
sound.
about the music so I don't get yelled at for not bringing up the music.
I mean, music, obviously the music's a whole, that's obviously a sticking point with the Mick Gordon firing stuff. But I just want to say in terms of like things like when you snipe a weak point on the enemy, it's that little chink sound. When your plasma gun gets a full charge, it makes that bleep. Like all the sounds are so good in that game and help emphasize like how meaty the weapons feel. Because part of one of the big things they introduced from into Eternal from 2016 was the like destruction on enemies. Like when you shoot them, they like rip apart more and more parts fall off and blood comes out and they sort of slowly degrade. Which helps again, like make the weapons feel so much more meatier and like more damaging, and that kind of a thing. And so, yeah, that's something I just adored about this game so much.
Go ahead, Jedi Moss.
Yeah, so yeah, just in conclusion, I'm mostly in agreement with Fire here. I love this game. It's one of my favorite shooters. I'm actually one that thinks it blows 2016 out of the water. I think one of the reasons why is because of the dash move. Like I tried going back to play 2016. I missed the dash in that game so much. I love having that kind of speed and control. And so that's what Doom Eternal offers me. And I'm fine with like the changes they're trying to do with the Dark Ages. Of like, I think they explained it pretty well. Of like we kind of want each Doom game to be its own thing. If they mentioned 2016 as like run and gun, Eternals like jump and shoot, and then the Dark Ages would be like stand and fight type of thing. So they clearly just want to do something different from it. I think they are also very clearly saying also we're not doing the Doom Eternal thing that was so divisive to a lot of people. And so, if I want that, I can just continue to play Eternal. That's no problem for me. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to the Dark Ages.
Go ahead, Couch Locked.
Hey, yo. Look, last words. I love this game. I think Doom Eternal's sweet. I'm looking forward to the new game. I really loved 2016 when they brought it back, and I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Thanks a lot, Mike, and love you guys. Love whatever you do, and that's it. Boom.
Thank you, Couch. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also in the very much enjoying Doom Eternal camp. I think the combat arenas and the design and all of the things you get to do is incredibly fun. I know one of my favorite things in this game is when you do it's the angel, which you headshot and it's just the grunt birthday skull from Halo and all of the ammo and everything come flying out and I'm just like, yep, That is amazing. I am so glad that someone has finally put that as a like an actual thing in a game that isn't a skull thing from Halo, and it just feels so good to do that every time.
Go ahead, Shawn.
Yeah, I think in closing, I'm just really happy to hear that for the most part, everyone really liked this game, because I certainly do too. I think that it's now a replacement for 2016. I think both 2016 and Eternal are very good games. I like them both a whole hell of a lot. And going into the Dark Ages, look, it would be cool if we can look back on, maybe this is a trilogy, maybe they keep going. But if we look back and say, oh yeah, they learn lessons from each game, and Dark Ages is definitely, the best game that they could make at this time. But if it's also just its own thing, they're kind of talking about like it is its own thing and it's going to be, they've said that. That would be cool too, because I really like what we're seeing so far. As of recording, we're about a month out. We'll see how much that hits. But really looking forward to it, especially after I get to replay 2016 and Eternal. I actually didn't play Eternal right before this, but I'm looking forward to hopping into both in the lead up to Dark Ages.
Yeah, I liked this so much that there was a part of me that is looking at Dark Ages and be like, oh, this seems like a counter reaction, or am I gonna miss how much movement there is in Doom Eternal and how fast paced it is? But I also do like that it is going to be something different. I like that we didn't just get 3 of the same games here. That each one is going to have hopefully a unique flavor, and I'm very much looking forward to trying out Doom: The Dark Ages in just a little bit less than a month here. I want to thank everybody so much for joining me today to talk about Doom Eternal. The Game Mess Game Club is actually playing Blueprints together right now, so our next discussion will be on that. Then we'll have a traditional poll. I believe it's going to be the Redemption poll, so it's a bunch of games that have lost in the poll previously. We'll get another shot coming up here very soon. So thank you everyone who joined me. Thank you everybody who played the game with us. And thank you if you're just listening or hanging out. We've been doing the Game Mess Game Club for a good bit here now. All sorts of games covered here, and I'm looking forward to doing more with everyone. Thank you. We'll see you later.